Hey there, Trailblazer. The thing is, your weird brilliance is actually your superpower. And you are literally turning your back on it every single day in the hope that you can fit in, that you can be accepted, that people around you who might be a bit more conservative can finally accept you for who you are, and yet you're not being who you are. And this is why I love working with people who sit on the outer edges of society norms. So unfortunately, that is women who are 45 plus. A lot of us are invisible to society. A lot of people who are neurodivergent feel very much on the outer. People from the LGBTQIA+ community actually feel that way a lot. And people of colour. I've worked with a number of Indigenous businesses and entrepreneurs, and they are also on their own journey of trying to be seen and accepted, or considered, not even being accepted. To be honest, we don't need your acceptance. We actually just need to be respected at the table, owning our own power and our own presence. But when we're branding, this gets really tricky, especially for individuals and smaller businesses where brand identity can be such a challenge that we don't quite know how to show up in a way that is authentic and real to us. And so we end up following strategies that everybody else around us in our industry are following. I see this in a lot of typical industries like coaching and finance and psychology, photography. There's all very similar ways of how people show up in their branding. And the people that are on the outer edges, the fringe areas of society, we need to embrace our weirdness even more so than what than what other people have to do, because the fact is that our weirdness is actually our brilliance, and it is the superpower that we have been looking for, and yet we've been trying to achieve it while also trying to fit in. So this is my call out to you today. If you identify as being a part of one or two of those areas of society, norms and cultures and what have you, then my call to you is, how can you start to show up weirdly brilliant in a way where it almost scares you and yet it excites you? Because the thing is, conservative brands are forgotten easily. They don't stand out at all, and they really have to compete on the level of service and price. And there's only so many dials that you can move and manipulate in a business in order to get by, in order to be seen. And price, well, to be frank, I don't want to be competing on price. I want to compete based on, how much can I really dial things up for you in a way that nobody else can? And can I do this in a way that delights you and changes your view of yourself? That's what I want to do. And so in order for me to be seen much more visibly, I need to be showing up more as my weirdly brilliant self, hence what you see behind you. And so weirdly brilliant brains get to be remembered much more easily. But the road towards that is a lot more difficult, because there's a lot of hesitation in showing up weirdly brilliant. Wouldn't you agree? Like, how do you show up weirdly brilliant, but also maintain credibility, while also maintain your dignity, while also make sense to people and the people that you want to attract, that you're actually saying the right kind of things? There's a number of things at play here. And then put on top of that, if you're in conservative industries, well, then you've got to really balance a delicate balancing act between conservative notions around what's typical for business and doing business, and maybe even policies and requirements that are, especially for medical industries, you've really got to be careful about how you show up in your marketing in those kind of areas. And then on top of that, how do you get some perspective around what is your weird brilliance and how could you shape that so that it is your point of difference? But to give you an example of how powerful and how magnetic weird brilliance is, I want you to try and not think of a weirdly brilliant artist, like a painting artist, or a weirdly brilliant musician, or a weirdly brilliant singer, guitarist. I don't want you to think about any of those. I bet you got some coming into your head right now, don't you? Yeah, I'm picturing Prince. I'm picturing Lady Gaga, Queen, Motley Crue. I'm picturing. There's so many from the 70s and the 80s, especially the 90s. I want you to not think of a unicorn in amongst a whole stack of horses. Don't think about it. Don't picture it. I don't want you to think about Beetlejuice, the movie. Don't think about how weird and wacky it is. Don't think about it. Don't you dare. Don't you dare go weirdly brilliant there. Don't you do it. And the thing is that once it gets into your head, it's like one of those earworms, isn't it? It kind of just captures you, and then you'll be like, oh, I need to go and watch that movie now. And so my question is, how can your brand, embracing its weird brilliance, become like an earworm, become like one of those real standout musicians or artists or actors and actresses? Think about the actresses that are really kind of quirky and a little bit different, and they really stand out, don't they? And they can actually morph into lots of different characters. And they're the ones you remember. And how could you be like that more? How could you do that more in a way where you don't have to be too loud? You don't have to actually be louder. You just need to be more of you and different enough that you become this memorable moment in a person's mind, and they can't get you out of their head. And who doesn't want that? I mean, seriously, who doesn't want that?